Twilight's Torment. In the last glow of twilight, the sky bleeding red over a land long forsaken, Cain moved like a shadow reborn, cloak tattered, sword in hand, his eyes hidden beneath the scarred shroud of a life marred by endless battle. At his side, barely a whisper against the wind, was the shadow. Cloaked in grime, her form melted into the decay around them, a ghost of nobility dragged through the dirt of survival. They had traveled for days with no fire, no words, only the crunch of scorched earth beneath their boots and the ever-looming presence of things watching from beyond dead trees. Each bore the weight of memory like armor. Cain, once a knight-turned vagabond. The shadow, once a noblewoman, now feared by thieves and warlords alike. Only one thing bound them, the truth neither could admit but both felt. The world had broken them, but not completely. When the fortress appeared on the horizon, cracked and looming like the carcass of a once great beast, they knew it wasn't just another ruin. Something waited within. Inside, bloodstains marked the stones. The remains of a desperate last stand littered the halls. Bones splintered, walls scorched, the air thick with death. But there was purpose in their arrival. Cain uncovered a sealed chamber beneath the bowl, filled with blades and dried rations left behind in haste, a soldier's final offering. Meanwhile, the shadow, creeping through forgotten corridors, found a brittle map etched into leather, markings leading far beyond the fortress, toward a place whispered in old stories, the sanctuary. The discovery split them. Cain wanted to hold the fortress, make a stand, find purpose in protecting what could be rebuilt. The shadow wanted to follow the map, to reach the sanctuary before others. Before they did, a single glance passed between them, a silent storm of conflict. Then they parted without a word, fate tugging them in different directions. But fate is a cruel trickster. Days later, they were reunited not by choice, but necessity. The trail led them both into the maw, an unholy stretch of cursed forest where light died and sound echoed wrong. Something stalked them there, a beast of sinew and shadow, born of the old empire's darkest sins. It tore through prey with rage and cunning, and when it came for them, Cain's blade and the shadow's cunning were the only reasons they escaped with breath in their lungs. They emerged ragged but bonded, shared blood on their hands, shared fire in their hearts. They pressed forward together, reaching the sanctuary as thunder rolled across the mountain. It wasn't gold or relics they found. It was people, survivors like them, not weak, but hardened, clinging to a single dream: rebirth. Cain saw in their eyes what he'd thought lost: hope. The shadow saw something more dangerous: belief. But the sanctuary's peace was fragile. It lasted 3 days. Then came the Empire's remnants, men in rusted armor and hungry eyes. They surrounded the sanctuary with fire and steel. What followed was chaos, the clash of metal, the roar of broken souls refusing to die. Cain led the charge, sword flashing in arcs of vengeance. The shadow moved through the fight like a wraith, her blade silent, her aim unerring. Together, they fought not as survivors, but as something more, as protectors. And when the final blow fell, when the fires dimmed and the wounded groaned in the silence that followed, the sanctuary still stood. It was then they learned the sanctuary's truth: not wealth, not weapons, but healing. Beneath its stones flowed springs once blessed, capable of mending wounds, not just of flesh, but of spirit. It could rebuild more than homes. It could restore purpose. But with that gift came a burden. They must not hoard it, must not weaponize it. And so as dawn touched the blackened edges of the horizon, Cain and the shadow stood before the people. Scarred, changed, chosen. No longer fugitives, no longer loners. They made a vow, together, to lead not as rulers, but as guardians, to defend this fragile flame of hope and to rebuild what the world had broken. They walked forward, side by side into the rising light, not saints, not heroes, just two souls who refused to let the dark win. Why is our funding